Hey there, and welcome to another episode of Home Tech. Thank you so much for joining us. We're very excited to present this episode to you. We had Evan Ackmann. He is a technology manager at Crestron, and we had him on the show to discuss Pyng. And it's a product that everyone's been very excited about ever since CEDIA. And again, just an episode we've been really looking forward to. So thank you for joining us. As usual, I'm joined by my co-host, Seth. Seth, how are you?
Doing well, Jason. How's it going? Nice and comfy over there?
It's like the perfect temperature right now.
Awesome. So I said in the when we were talking about what we were gonna go over in the show, I was gonna give you hell for taking 3 weeks to put it in your thermostat there. So
wait, what was that? I was just adjusting the set point on my HVAC.
Awesome.
Yeah. No, I've been super busy. Obviously, we've talked about it with the baby coming, and we're excited for that. But yeah, I did get the Ecobee thermostat that we purchased a couple weeks ago. Finally made some time to put it in this weekend, and I've had just about a week now to kind of play around with it and get familiar with it. And I have to say that overall, I'm very impressed. I think it's a really great product. I haven't really had any issues. I think there was maybe one time where I tried to open up the app and it didn't connect, and I closed the app and it connected again. So I haven't had really any technical issues. Unboxing, installation was very simple. We've talked about HVAC before, and there's a lot of even integrators out there who are somewhat technical, but HVAC is not something that I've really done a lot with as far as installing thermostats. But they made it really, really simple. I have to say they did a great job with it. And the software setup as well was very intuitive. And overall, I'm really enjoying the product.
So far so good. It's an A+.
Yeah, I wouldn't go A+. There's one sort of feature that I thought was surprising, or I should say lack of a feature. Ecobee really touts these remote wireless sensors, and I think for good reason. That was the main reason why I went with Ecobee, because we want to monitor the temperature not just in the living room where the thermostat is, but we want to monitor the temperature right by the crib where the baby's going to sleep. That was kind of the whole impetus for buying this thermostat, right?
Right.
And what I've come to find out is that in order to actually even see the temperature of the remote of the wireless sensor, you have to go to the thermostat itself. So you can see the temperature that the thermostat is reading. You got the built-in temp sensor inside of the thermostat. That temperature displays obviously everywhere, in the app, on the web interface, what have you. But for some reason, that little remote temp sensor, you can't see what temperature that is reading unless you go to the menu system on the thermostat itself.
Ouch.
Which was I have to say, very disappointing.
Yeah.
I did email them. I opened up a support ticket and said, "Hey, am I missing something? This seems very strange to me. This can't be right." And they did get back to me right away, and they said that they've had a lot of requests for that, which I wasn't surprised to hear. And he said that it's one of the features that they've kind of moved up in the queue to a very high priority. So I do expect to see that in a future update, and the sooner the better. I just think that those wireless sensors, being able to kind of monitor what the temperature is in individual parts of the house was really the whole driving force. Well, I shouldn't say the whole driving force, but was one of the main driving forces behind my selection of that product. So giving more visibility to that reading, I think it just is a no-brainer.
Yeah. No, I can see that. I mean, that's definitely what you've been talking about, being your reason for purchasing it. So that's definitely huge. If you have to go all the way to the thermostat to see what's going on. And I was looking at some of their screenshots of the web app that you sent over to me, and it looks like they have room for expansion. They have things like coming soon and app store or something like that. So it looks like they have a lot planned for this particular platform for them. So yeah. Look like a really cool product, and I got to say the installation, good job, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you did a good job.
Yeah, and so I'd say an A-, and it would be probably an A+ if they just can fix that one little omission.
Cool. So speaking of omission, we ran across this story here that it looks like you'll be kind of disappointed that the NFL isn't going to be doing 4K anytime soon.
Yeah, I saw that. And I wasn't too surprised. I kind of knew this would be the case. I follow 4K, I wouldn't say super closely, but I definitely keep an eye on it. Kind of due for a TV upgrade here in our main living area at some point. I'm not like in a rush to go out, and I'm sort of waiting until 4K kind of matures a little bit, or UHD, I think is really, if we want to be technical, the more accurate term. 4K is kind of a cinema format, but that's debating semantics. This article caught my eye because, I'm a football junkie.
Yeah, it's an NFL in it. So
yeah. Yeah. And it's an interesting, we'll include the link in the show notes. I think it's an insightful read, just in general, because it sort of illustrates a lot of the challenges with 4K, and it's a technology that's being adopted more and more, but there are still a lot of hurdles that it needs to clear before it really becomes like the new normal.
Right. And as I was skimming through the article, I ran across this paragraph here that said, I'll kind of quote here, a large part of the problem lies in the fact that 4K isn't even particularly exceptional unless it's viewed on a screen that's larger than 55 inches. And I guess currently there's not too many people out there have something larger than 55. And that's kind of where you hit a price point that kind of becomes tough to stomach for most people. I think 50 is probably golden. Maybe 55 is now, but I'd say the vast majority of the TVs out there are smaller, in that 52 range,
Yeah, I would agree.
But I found that funny because I remember a couple of years back there was like a Super Bowl party rules that the NFL has, and one of the stipulations in their broadcasting rules is that you can't have a screen over 55 inches.
Yeah.
So maybe they're just thinking, hey, if we do that, we'll be opening this up for these giant theater screens that people have. And
yeah,
I don't know. Who knows with the NFL? They do what they want to do.
That you send me the link to that. I actually hadn't heard of that. It was sort of this, kind of.
It's mostly for like commercial things, and churches would have Super Bowl parties and that kind of thing. I guess they don't want that kind of thing going on. So.
Yeah. This article clearly is more about just the challenges of, the expense of having the cameras and the broadcast equipment. Football's a very involved production versus something maybe like, I don't know, I think they cited golf or tennis in the article that we were reading. Maybe requires fewer cameras, fewer logistics. But even there, you still got the broadcast equipment. So we're just not seeing a lot of live broadcast stuff really in the near term future with 4K. But I certainly think that it's coming. It's going to take some time.
Yeah, as with all new technologies, they take some time getting here. So speaking of new technologies, there's some big news in the wireless technologies world.
Yeah, and this is exciting. I'm a big fan of Ruckus. We do a lot of Ruckus stuff, but we can really only find ways to kind of get Ruckus in. I shouldn't say only, but it's tough to get Ruckus into the sort of mid to lower end jobs just because of the price tag. I mean, it's a great product. It has a lot of benefits to using this sort of enterprise grade technology, but it's price prohibitive for a lot of people. And they actually just announced very recently that they're sort of coming out with a new line of kind of down level, or I should say down market products called Xclaim, and it looks really cool. Yeah,
and especially at the price points, we're kind of seeing $89 for their entry level access point.
Yeah,
and then they have that's crazy. They have options up to $399, but I guess what caught our eyes a little bit more are how they're going to be managing this platform here.
Right. Yeah, and just to touch on price before we move on to that, I mean, just to kind of put it in perspective, a lot of the wireless access points that we sell for Ruckus, I mean, you're starting at $600 to $700 per wireless access point. And that doesn't include any of the switching hardware. That doesn't include the router. It doesn't include the zone director, which is your, little on-site piece of hardware that manages these devices. And so just to put things in perspective for people who may not be familiar with Ruckus, this Xclaim access point that's $89 is a major step towards like supplying network hardware for a lower kind of end of the market segment.
Right, and it looks like from what we're reading, that this is kind of a move and a kind of a joint venture, I guess, with a big company called Google, who has this initiative to get Wi-Fi, solid, fast Wi-Fi into small business. So this would be a perfect price point for that. I don't know, kind of the articles we were reading through, and I kind of said, oh, this is just like Meraki, and I don't know if too many people are familiar with that, but Meraki is it was kind of a, back before Cisco bought them, it was kind of this really like nebulous network where you could set up these little access points and they would all talk to each other, and you could kind of have a network built out of these, like an ad hoc network out of access points, which was just a really cool idea. Cisco bought them and really turned them into this huge enterprise operation. Now they sell switches and access points that can all be managed. Like the switches and access points all can get managed and set up and deployed from the cloud. You essentially log right into a web server. I use Meraki actually for MDM and some like device management. You can install a quick little program on company computers and that kind of thing, and it just kind of keeps up where they are, if they're online and that kind of thing. I use it to kind of monitor NVRs, believe it or not, to make sure that they're running. If they're not, if one of them goes down, Meraki will send me a little email and tell me that, oh, so and so's NVR is offline, and then I'll give that guy a call and say, hey, what's wrong with your internet? And they usually don't know. So it's one of those. I think this is going to be huge for Ruckus, though. I mean, this is one of those new technologies that we're seeing come in with Wi-Fi, and at this price point, in conjunction with Google, I mean, this is just going to break loose.
Yeah, no, I think I would agree with you there, and it's just like you said, it's a sort of a different architecture, and it's kind of cloud managed networking. And to be honest, I'm not, I know enough about networks to get by, but it's certainly not something that I live and breathe every day. So it's kind of understanding the nuance of that. I had to kind of read a little bit and actually have you kind of explain to me, like with the Meraki analogy and whatnot. It looks very cool. They have this app for, it looks like iOS and Android, that they're calling Harmony. And that's kind of, you can set up a lot of your configuration right through the app, makes it very simple. So again, we're just seeing these trends of just sort of simplifying setup through apps and all of that stuff. And we had Evan Ackmann on from Pyng, which is the interview we're going to jump into here shortly. And it all kind of just this app-based setup process. It all just sort of ties together. And I know you saw the picture of this thing and you're like, oh, it looks like Pyng. Even the design kind of
right.
oddly
it's a white
similar.
box. It's got a black and blue app. Yeah. I've got an idea for these guys. With their Harmony app, they're gonna have to run with this. It's just a free marketing from me. They can make a service where you can like tie in from a different location. You can tie in and set up these access points, and they can call it Harmony Remote. Is that? They're just gonna have to run with
nice.
that. Million ideas a day.
So. That's a freebie.
That's a freebie.
All right. Well, yeah. Other big news here that I saw this week, and I can't say that I was terribly surprised. There's kind of been murmurings of this, but looks like LG is officially pulling the plug on plasma production.
It's the end of an era.
It is. I think this is kind of the final death knell. We've been watching plasma, and other manufacturers have been moving away from it. So again, not really a surprise. LG seems very focused on OLED. They're like really one of the only companies kind of doing it on a consumer level right now. They had an OLED set at CEDIA that I know was just stunning. And that's kind of seems like their big push is going to be moving towards OLED. And, plasma, I guess, is just a technology that's outlived its, I don't want to say usefulness, but it's just sort of been surpassed by other technologies for a variety of reasons. And I have to say, I'm kind of sad. I've always been a fan of plasma. It's what I own. It's, my parents bought new TVs a couple years ago, and it's what I had them buy when they asked. And I've always been partial to plasma over LCD, but LCD technology continues to improve. OLED is kind of the future. A lot of people would say, or, it's debatable, but it's certainly out there. And so this is kind of not a surprising story.
Yeah, certainly the lower cost plastic LED TVs. I mean, plasma was glass. You had to ship glass from China. That can't be cheap to do in bulk. And then certainly the lower weight TVs have definitely taken over the market. And, it really comes down to cost for most consumers. If you can get a very large 65, 75 inch LED TV for a few $1,000s versus how much that would cost to make a glass panel for plasma. I mean, it would be the lower end plasmas were actually pretty cheap. You could get like a 50 or 60 inch plasma for under $1,000 recently. But as soon as you kind of went way up into the big, I'm thinking of the Panasonic 103 and the 150-inch Panasonic. Those would get pricey.
Yeah, and they're power hungry as well.
Oh, yeah.
Run very hot.
240 volts. Yeah,
consume a lot more energy. And, so that was one of the things that I think LCD, when they were kind of winning out, there was a lot of reasons. Like you said, it is cheaper to manufacture, more energy efficient. And like I said, it continues to evolve and get better. And it's certainly not to say that LCD is an inferior picture. It's debatable, but it was just something. It was a preference I had. I could just see the difference, especially in like fluid motion on a plasma. I've always felt like LCD has just struggled to match that. And they will continue to evolve, but OLED to me is a really interesting technology, and I actually hope that it catches on. I think there's some debate right now as to whether or not it will.
Yeah, and price has to come down on that one too. I mean, those were expensive TVs.
Yeah, absolutely.
This article is saying, in the meantime, if you need if you absolutely have to have a plasma panel, there's a Chinese company called Changhong, which will still be manufacturing in China. So you can go over there and pick one up and bring it back if you absolutely have
one
to
last
have
holdout.
Yeah,
we got one last holdout.
Yeah, you're not going to see any of those in the U.S. market, though. So
yeah, and only a matter of time. I don't think you'll see any of those anywhere, but time will tell.
End of an era, man. End of an era.
Indeed. All right. Well, with that, I think we should jump into our interview. Again, we had Evan Ackmann. He is a technology manager at Crestron, and he joined us to talk about Pyng, and it was a great conversation. I know Pyng really generated a ton of buzz at CEDIA. Everybody that I talked to that saw the product was, certainly opinionated about it, and most people were very, very excited about it. And we were definitely looking forward to having him on. We've been kind of excited about this episode.
Yeah, it's a really neat product, and it's just to me, when I saw it, what they were doing with it, it made all the sense in the world. I'm not a Crestron dealer. I have never really wanted to be one, but the Pyng product is something that I'm insanely jealous of Crestron dealers for having, because it's well thought out and just a good product line that takes care of the basics. And then I got to talk about a little bit what I think dealers should do with it in the interview. So we'll just kind of hold off on my opinion here,
sure,
and listen to the interview for that. But I also wanted to thank people for listening. If you have any reviews or any feedback, just let us know. You can reach us through our website at HomeTech.fm, and there's a feedback form on there that will reach Jason and I both. You can also reach out to us on Twitter. I'm at Seth P. Johnson. I think, Jason, you're at Jason Griffin. Is that right?
At Jason Griffin, yep. And there's a G at the end.
Yep. And you can listen to us on technology.fm, along with a bunch of other podcasts that are really, really excellent out there. So with that, I guess we'll go ahead and jump into the interview.
We are pleased to welcome to the show Evan Ackmann. Evan, how are you?
I'm doing quite well, Jason. How are you?
I'm doing great, and just wanted to first thank you for taking the time to come on Home Tech and join us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. Well, obviously, we are here to talk about Pyng tonight, and we're very excited to do that. It was a hot topic at CEDIA and kind of a hot topic in the industry in general right now, and I think everyone's excited to hear about that. But why don't, before we jump into Pyng, just for our listeners who aren't familiar with you, maybe you can give a quick personal introduction and maybe just a little bit of your background in the industry.
Yeah, so we'll start with background. I've actually been in this industry for my entire professional career. I graduated from Lehigh University as an engineer in 2005, and I immediately joined the lighting industry. About 5 years ago, I came over to Crestron, and now I'm responsible for product development for lighting and energy management products, and one of those products is Crestron Pyng.
Very good. All right, and I did want to take one moment to acknowledge that we always appreciate guests coming on the show, but we appreciate you coming on even more because I understand you're very, very busy with an upcoming big life event. Do you want to just talk about that for a second?
Yeah, I am 23 days away from getting married, actually. My soon-to-be wife, Elizabeth, is roaming around the apartment right now, and we're trying to get all the final preparations done for the wedding. I think we're doing pretty good. There's just a couple outstanding things, flowers and whatnot, but it's all coming together pretty well. So we're getting married in Philadelphia on November 22nd.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I actually got married last November, so it's just last August.
Oh,
we're gonna have to edit. We're gonna have to edit that out.
Let's edit that all out.
Honeymoon.
Stay in.
Yeah, that's awesome. I actually got married last August. So very familiar with kind of the preparations and everything that you're going through. Those last minute preparations and everything can really add up.
Yeah, it's just that fear that we've forgotten something. And I don't think we have, but you just don't know until the day of. But we've got a great wedding planner, and Elizabeth's all over it. So, it seems like we're doing well.
Oh, yeah, you'll have a blast. The day goes by as a blur. I guess I'm a veteran here. I was like 7 years ago now, so.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Oh, thanks. All right, well, I guess, Evan, can you tell us a little bit about, I guess, our audience that we have? Some of them are dealers and obviously very familiar with Crestron. But we do get a lot of DIY listeners and kind of, the new upcoming installers that, may have just gotten their hands on a Nest thermostat or something like that. And want to integrate that in with something. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about Crestron and how it was started and where it came from?
Yeah, Crestron's been around for about 40 years. Originally, we were sort of the control system company, bringing together a lot of disparate technologies. We would be the people who could put a touchscreen on the wall that would interface with somebody's TV, the cable box, somebody else's amplifier or receiver, and kind of just bringing all those technologies together into a user interface and in a control system platform. As time has gone on, we realized that the thing that we could bring that was really different from everybody else is that level of integration and really guaranteeing a solution. And so more and more, we started to bring more of those technologies under our own umbrella. So, my role as lighting is one of those things, right? We used to interface with other people's lighting. More and more, we've now brought that under our own umbrella. And, we've been in lighting for a long time. But, sort of every week, it seems like we're bringing in new technologies. We make speakers now. We make amplifiers. We make what would loosely be called receivers. One of our biggest businesses is video distribution over fiber and Cat5. So we do a lot of different things right now. We still have that control system platform. A lot of people think of us as the touchscreen company. We still do that. But we sort of cover all different areas of home and building automation now.
That's interesting. Yeah, I've noticed that there has been a definite movement in the industry from the larger players to be kind of a one-stop shop for dealers. And I think Crestron and certainly Control4 have kind of made moves in that direction. I think that's a pretty interesting trend.
I mean, it's definitely one of those things. I mean, people say one throat to choke, but we really like to be in a position where we can guarantee an experience for a customer. So, we want to know that everything's going to work. We want to make sure that everything works together seamlessly. There's no sort of impedance mismatch between any of the different technologies. So it really results in a more sort of smooth and seamless install, and everything kind of just works the same way and as you'd expect. So it's a consistent interface for the customer, the end user, the homeowner, or the building owner. But it's also good for dealers too, because there's consistent programming languages. There's a lot of sameness in how you deal with all of our products.
Right, and I think that's certainly from the dealer's perspective what Crestron is really known for. In this industry, you guys are kind of like the gold standard, and you have been for a number of years of control processors and equipment to install. Everything as far as my career has gone has been compared to a Crestron system, so it's kind of interesting that you guys have introduced Pyng this year, which is a kind of a down market solution. So I guess let's go ahead and talk about what is Pyng.
Well, I'll stop you right there because we don't necessarily view Pyng as a down market installation. I mean, we still have it's the same products, it's our same dealer network. Yes, it is. It's one of those things that's much easier to install, and it's quicker. So, what is Pyng? Pyng is an app, but we've made apps for iPhone and iOS devices for a long time. The difference between what Pyng is and where we were even just a year ago, is it's an app that allows you to configure an entire home automation system. So there's no golden laptop anymore. There's no who has the code. There's none of that sort of those barriers to getting a home automation system up and running. If I think about how a home installation would go sort of traditionally, you'd find who has the most recent code. You'd go make changes. You'd pull out your load schedule. You'd kind of guess and check your way through it. You'd put this code onto a control system or a processor in the house, and you'd go around and sort of check everything. Have a checklist you'd run through and make sure that everything did what you thought it did, and then you'd get homeowner sign off. We've really condensed that all down into those last two steps because you just do everything live. You walk around the house with your iPad, you touch a button, and you just describe really what you want it to do. And all of a sudden it does it. I mean, if you think about sort of the compile and upload cycle, that used to take dealers, a long period of time, and it was sort of it was tough to get immediate feedback on exactly what was happening. Pyng sort of tightens up that loop, so you immediately know if you've done the correct thing, and you can immediately tell the homeowner, this is what it does. Is this exactly what you want? Yes or no. And if it's not, you can change it on the spot. And if it is, you can move on to the next thing. So, the benefit of Pyng is there's a few benefits, frankly. It allows for really quick installations and really consistent installations, and it provides homeowners with a lot of flexibility as well. So, they obviously get a home automation system at the end, which is what they wanted, but then they are empowered to actually do a little bit of work themselves. So, we don't think it should be a truck roll for a dealer when someone wants to change their scenes or add new scheduled events or, even change how keypad buttons work and what they do. So, Pyng is really, it's an empowerment for our dealer base to go out, do more jobs, do it quicker, and be more consistent and have the confidence that they're going to get in and get out for the sort of the consistent stuff. And then it empowers the homeowner to do a little bit more themselves. And then there's a lot of benefits around sort of in the back end too, where we've got diagnostics and error reporting and things like automatic updating. It really empowers a lot of people to do a lot more jobs in a year.
Yeah, definitely. And there's clearly a ton of benefits to kind of the architecture of Pyng and how you guys have it set up in terms of, kind of that instant configuration, and you don't have to compile and upload. And there's certainly a number of benefits. It has been, I think, received, from my perspective, very well in the industry. I was at CEDIA. Seth and I were both there, and it definitely generated a ton of buzz. But there is a faction of, I think, the systems integration industry that does see Pyng as maybe a departure from Crestron's core business model. And oftentimes these are integrators who really pride themselves on their ability to kind of get in and customize a solution, whereas Pyng is more of a template and, kind of enables quicker configuration, but maybe doesn't give you the ability to customize things quite as much. What would you say to address people's concerns about maybe Crestron moving away from that business and kind of focusing on a like a template-based system like Pyng?
Well, I mean, the simple answer is we're not moving away from that business at all. I mean, we will always be the people that you can go to that can do anything, right? I mean, I always sort of make up an example of, if the fountain's on and the dog runs away and it's a Thursday and it's a full moon, turn the lights on, lower the shades, turn the volume up, and call the police, right? Like, we can always go really deep and really broad with what we can do. I think Pyng's an acknowledgement to what the industry really expects right now. I mean, for dealers, yeah, there's always going to be that custom stuff, and homeowners are always going to want that custom stuff, and we're always going to support our dealer base in doing that. But for things like, I've got a keypad on the wall that has an all-off scene that lowers all the shades in my house and turns off all the lights, we don't think that should be any more difficult than just describing it in the way I just did. And so it allows that stuff that is kind of common across all jobs to be quick and easy, so that you're spending your time as a dealer on the things that really where you're going to add all that value and do all that custom stuff, and be able to say yes to that homeowner. But we don't have to pass all that cost onto the homeowner because everything's custom. So the simple stuff is simple and quick to implement because of Pyng, but we always have that ability to do more and more and more because we are Crestron.
Right. And I think that's a great answer. I think it, like you said, you guys are a big company and obviously capable of doing, more than one thing. And so I think the way I see it, Pyng is a product for a certain solution, and then there's always the larger, more customizable stuff for the other jobs, and it just depends on what the project calls for.
Right. I mean, it's sort of right sizing the solution to the job, right?
Yeah, most definitely. I think that that kind of covers the background of Pyng and maybe the kind of the business side of it. And I think we should kind of jump into maybe talking about some of the features and the technology of Pyng, sort of get into some of the nuts and bolts of it. Can you just give maybe a high level overview? If I'm a Crestron dealer and I order my first Pyng hub, and maybe I'm setting it up in my showroom as a demo or setting it up at a client's house, what does that kind of initial unboxing and configuration process look like?
Well, it's pretty straightforward. Obviously the first thing that's going to happen is that an electrician is going to come through and put light switches in, maybe hang shades, maybe they put in new door locks. So the equipment is the same equipment that we've had. So that stuff all goes in, and then all I really have to do is open up my Pyng hub, put it on the network, and it has a little wall wart that you can plug in, or it'll be powered over PoE if there's PoE in the house. And then as long as the iPad that I have is on that network, it'll reach out, it'll go find the Pyng hub, and I'll be immediately presented with a little bit of startup information. It wants to know, hey, what's your name? Where is this house? Because we need that information for astronomic calculations, so we know what time sunrise and sunset is. And then it drops you really right into the 5 steps, where you're going to sort of build your house. You're going to describe all the rooms that are there. You're going to then pair the devices, which is I go around to all of them and I just sort of do some button calisthenics, and then they show up within the app. And then I'm sort of off to the races. I've got everything put in rooms. I've got all the devices there. Now I can just walk around, tap some buttons, and then I'm sort of up and running. I tap a button and say, I want this to recall a scene, or I want this to lower the shades. And, you very quickly can just start to see things come alive in front of you. You don't have that long cycle.
Button calisthenics. I like that one.
Sometimes you get a finger workout. It's 4 button presses to get it all paired.
Right. That's a good one. It's first I've heard of that one. That one's funny. So I guess from what I'm gathering, it sounds like the devices that you're using to connect to the Pyng system, those are all Crestron devices, or how does?
There's a little bit of a subtlety there. With a few exceptions, they're all Crestron devices. So we make dimmers, switches, keypads, shades, but we don't make things like door locks. And so what we've done is we've partnered with, right now it's Yale. They've built our wireless technology into their door locks. And so it's what we call our InfiniteX Connected program. So their door locks now speak our language natively. So they fall right into Pyng naturally. For things like security integration, we obviously don't make security systems. So we have it's an interface box basically that the Pyng hub will go out and find that connects to Honeywell Vista security systems right now. And that list is going to grow pretty rapidly here in the near future. So, with a very few exceptions, it's all devices that we make.
Cool. So, and if I remember correctly, the InfiniteX, that's more of it's a Zigbee protocol type thing.
It's similar. It's 802.15.4. That's the same thing that Zigbee's based off of, but we use a custom application level so that all of our devices, whether they be wireless, wired via CrestNet, which is an RS-485 bus, or via Ethernet, they all sort of look the same to our control systems. So it allows for programmers to have a very consistent interface, which is why we developed our own custom application level.
Yeah, I've noticed most manufacturers who run with Zigbee do that. How many devices can you connect to the Pyng system, the Pyng hub itself?
Today, the Pyng hub is limited to 200 devices. So that's 200 dimmers, switches, keypads, shades, locks, thermostats, occupancy sensors. Whatever combination you want to use to get there, you can get to 200 devices. Now, from a wireless standpoint, you probably will have to add an external gateway at that point because the gateways are limited. That we limit those to 50 devices each, just for performance reasons. So you need a couple extra gateways, but you can get up to 200 devices on one Pyng system.
Which is a pretty sizable number of devices. I mean, really, when you think about even some of the medium to even some of the large houses that we do, really 200 devices is going to get get you quite a ways. If somebody did have an application where they needed more devices than that and they wanted to do a Pyng-based system, are there options for them to do that? Or at that point, are you looking at upgrading to a different architecture?
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily a different architecture. At that point, sometimes the systems become pretty complicated. So that might sort of be a more traditional Crestron system. That said, you could obviously do sort of two Pyng systems living next to each other. That does work, but it's really right sizing and sort of breaking it down in reasonable ways. You'd want to be able to separate that home into sort of two logical sections where control from one would sort of always be in one area and control for the other would always be in the other area.
Sure. Yeah. And you said something there that actually made me think of another question that I've kind of seen floating out there and people are wondering about, I think, and that is, how does Pyng exactly fit in if you want to use Crestron traditional hardware as well? Is it one or the other, or can these devices be made to work kind of in conjunction on the same system, sort of in a complementary fashion?
They work in tandem, actually, and it's kind of cool. So we have this concept of, we call it Pyng triggers and Pyng listens. And that's actually, if you go into our traditional programming software and you're using sort of a traditional Crestron control system, that's one of the things that you'll see that you can add now. And what that really does is it's a very simplified interface, and you get a lot of benefits by using Pyng in conjunction with another control system. So all I have to do on sort of the traditional Crestron side, let's call it, is just define everything that I want Pyng to know about and everything I want to be told about from Pyng. So I might say, I want to expose a button on my handheld remote that I have that says lights, and I want to expose music on and music off, for example. Once I do that and I compile and I upload to my control system, that's all up and running. In the Pyng app, when I open up my my iPad, it actually goes out and discovers those things on the network, and so it'll be pulled in and say, hey, I see that there's an event that's going to come in called lights on or lights. And then I can configure that in the same way that I configure a keypad button. So all of that configuration then goes back into Pyng. I don't have to define it anywhere else. Similarly, for events where the other control system will be listening, like music on and music off, I'll see those as basically in the same way I see scenes show up. So I'll see lights on, lights off, and in sort of an external tab, it'll say music on and music off. So it ends up looking like Pyng native sort of supported devices and control options, but it's actually defined, and what actually happens is done over on the other control system. So a good example of this is it's kind of a kludgy system I have in my house, which I use for testing. I have window unit air conditioners, and so I want to turn those on and off, and the way that I end up having to do it is sort of through various Pyng triggers and Pyng listens to get sort of all the thermostat feedback over, and then back over to turn on and off what ends up being a plug-in lamp switch that controls the HVAC unit. And so that's something that obviously we didn't design for. My tiny apartment in Hoboken, New Jersey, isn't sort of the optimal use case for Pyng, but I was able to do something that was a little bit goofy just through this sort of Pyng triggers and Pyng listens logic.
If that's not integration and automation, I don't know what is.
It's one of those things where I probably would not be one of Crestron's traditional customers, but I've got all this technology in my house, and so there are wires running everywhere. And the reason that I love home automation, and particularly lighting and energy management, is I've got all this cool stuff. I've got whole home audio, I've got HD video running over fiber along the floor, and all this stuff for the engineer in me is so cool. But every time one of my friends walks in and the lights turn on in the bathroom automatically because of the aux sensor, they're blown away. They couldn't care about anything else. As long as those lights turn on automatically, they're just wowed by it. And so I just always think of that as, this is so cool, that what we get to do every day.
Yeah, definitely. So that kind of brings me to a question I had that I saw a little bit of at CEDIA, but I just kind of wanted to touch on it here. There is a little bit of end user customization for the Pyng system. Is that right?
That's correct. We want to give them as much power as possible in a very safe way, and Pyng does make it safe too. So, we allow people to, in most cases, the dealer can lock this out, of course, but we suggest that they're able to modify all their scheduled events, and they can enable and disable them. They can create new ones and delete them. They can modify all the scenes in their houses or create new ones. And if the dealer elects to give them what we call the installer password, they can actually basically change how the system works. They can take a button on the wall and say, I really don't want that to control my shades. I want it to control my lights. And they can do all that work themselves. But that's a lot of people get scared by that, right? It's, oh my Lord, they're gonna break something. It's not gonna work. But one of the cool things about Pyng, because we have control over it, we're able to basically watch every change that gets made through the system. And the Pyng hub that's at the center of all this, it's watching every little button press. It's watching every configuration change. And every time that sort of settles for like 10 minutes or so, it snapshots that and says, all right, this is a new configuration. They changed something. Let's just snapshot this so that we can go back to it at any point in the future. So I could basically go through, and we're having a Halloween party tomorrow night. I could change what all these buttons do. I could create all these scheduled events, and then on Saturday I could say, I really didn't want to do any of that. And then I'm one button press away from going back to exactly how my home was operating today. And, so it's safe and easy to make those changes. And you don't really have to worry about sort of screwing things up because Pyng has your back, and that's all cloud backed. So, even if I lose the hub and I have to install a new one, I can actually get those configuration files back and sort of recreate my system very quickly.
Well, that's killer. I wish every control system had that, but that's a pretty good point. So on the app, are there like any themable experiences? Like, can you change the colors of the app? I know the one I saw at CEDIA was like a blue and white kind of look to it.
Yeah, what that was the sort of the configuration side of it. That's where you set everything up. There's also sort of the runtime side of it, like the thing that the user would end up having as they were trying to control their house from their iPad. Today that's really not themable. It's it's an interface that we've created. It is it has one of our Crestron themes on it, but today we don't allow people to select which one. We sort of designed it to be workable and sort of successful. One of the things about Pyng that's so interesting is that we're going to be growing this thing very rapidly, and that's hardware support and new device types, but it's also software support and enabling new features on the app. And themability and changing backgrounds and how the buttons look, that's one of the first things on our roadmap, frankly.
Very cool. Yeah, I think that it's probably one of those things when you're focusing on getting a new solution out like this, something that kind of can be put on the backlog kind of until things are pushed out there. And I think the core functionality is really the most important thing. And overall, I think the app is beautiful. And everybody that I talked to that looked at it was very impressed. I think you guys did a great job on that. And I think any ability to kind of customize or theme it is just sort of icing on the cake at that point. We did talk about sort of this is a Crestron system, and you talked about there are sort of other brands you're working with for security and locks, et cetera. Is there any plan ever to expand Pyng control outside of its current architecture to maybe integrate directly with like AV control of the media room, or will that sort of integration take place kind of outside of Pyng?
Well, again, the whole goal of Pyng is, we started with what we thought was a really great home automation system, and we felt that we had a complete package, but we recognized that, the first question we got asked at CEDIA, frankly, was when can I do my distributed audio with it? When can I do the distributed video with it? When do I get source control? When do I get touchscreens? Yeah. And so, Pyng is a platform for us. I mean, it's something that, exists as a great product today, but all of that functionality is going to be growing as time goes on. So, I'm not going to commit to timelines, but, we are going to be growing that to obviously to sort of, more security systems, to our own wired lighting and shading, but also to the other areas of our business. And so, absolutely we'll be able to do distributed audio. Absolutely we'll be able to do those things, including touchscreens and whatnot. That is a part of our roadmap, and Pyng is a platform, and it's going to grow more and more. Again, we think that we can make sort of those simple, straightforward installations very quick and very easy to do, without having to sort of, ruin the fact that we can do anything that we want because we are Crestron.
Right. Well, I think that's a great answer, and I'm glad to hear it. There was one sort of small point that I wanted to get some clarification on, because I'm a semi-active member of a forum where there were some people talking about Pyng, and it was a great discussion, and there was kind of some back and forth. I think there was a little bit of confusion I want to clear up. Does Pyng have a wired CresNet connection on it?
The answer to that question is yes. The little green connector on the back is a wired CresNet connection. So that, I guess that kind of proves our roadmap exists going to wired devices as well.
Yeah, I think maybe there was the unit on the floor didn't, but then there was pictures of one online that did, or something along those lines. I can't recall exactly, but there was a lot of confusion.
At various points, we sort of debated whether we were going to cover that up and hide the fact that, it actually existed on there. But at the end of the day, we decided, look, we're trying to be very open and transparent about what we're developing. And, we know that going to wired devices is going to be really important for us. And so, we're not going to hide that. It's kind of like a little green promise sitting on the back of the Pyng hub that we are going to be growing this thing and doing a lot more stuff with it.
That's very cool. It's really exciting to see where you could take a product like this and what directions you could take it, because I think you've kind of taken care of in a very good way the easy parts of home automation. So lighting control, shading, the home automation part of it, and then you have kind of the big AV system sitting off on the side, ready to be integrated. And I think from what we were seeing at CEDIA or what was released on press outlets and whatnot, we're looking at like $600 retail for the hub. Is that right?
Yeah, it's $599.
Yeah, so I mean that's an awesome entry point for having a real Crestron system, with Crestron quality and all that. I mean, that's a great price point.
And that's really why I keep harping on the fact, it's not a down market product. It's, I'll be frank, it's not really a DIY product either. It's still a professionally installed Crestron system. It's just, it's a quick and easy way to get a professional installation and a Crestron system in your house.
Right. I when I saw it, I immediately thought kind of MDU installs, the kinds where you may sell in 100, 120, 140 units of the same thing. You could do shading, lighting, and just throw in a Pyng processor and call it a day. And
right, and you're up and running.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're, as a Crestron dealer, if you wanted to go in and add AV, hey, so much the better. You can
right,
go.
I mean, that's a lead now, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Someone who is going to be happy because they've got a home automation system they understand, and then they want to add one more thing. And today maybe it's distributed audio, and you got to get the programmer out there. But that's a qualified lead, and that's a happy customer who's going to call you back and want more.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of dealers out there may need to take a look at their business model and say, hey, how can I make this work, and how can I make this fit in to my process and what I do? Because man, this seems like a golden opportunity for Crestron dealers, if you ask me.
Right, and I obviously agree with that. But it is people are starting to understand that this is not something that's scary. It's something that allows them to be a lot more successful and do a lot more business. And so once people get over the sort of is it a down market thing? Are they going to, Home Depot and Lowe's? The answer is no. I mean, this, again, it's the same products that our dealers are already familiar with. They're already very comfortable with. They know how they work. It's just a quick way to get those things up and running so they can focus on, frankly, more interesting problems.
Right. Awesome. Well, I think it's been a really interesting conversation. I know that I've learned a lot, and I hope everyone listening has as well. I'd be curious to know, just since CEDIA, kind of what your general assessment is. How has the dealer base been reacting in general to the news of Pyng?
I mean, there's been a lot of positive reaction. I mean, we sort of went on back order very quickly because we couldn't keep up with demand. So there's a lot of excitement out there, and frankly, there's a lot of questions too. But I think we've been putting out new videos on Pyng every week. The first major update to the hub is going to get pushed live in the next week or so. So it's right now there's a lot of excitement, and it's really on us to sort of prove what we said. Right? We told people we're going to update this frequently. We told people that this is a little bit different than what we've done. We've got all this rich help, and we're making good on that claim, and we're going to grow this thing so that it's more and more and more of what they do, so that they can be more successful.
All right. Well, again, Evan, we just want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on Home Tech and join us. If any of our listeners want to find out more about you, maybe want to connect with you or find out more about Pyng, what would be the best way for them to do that?
The best way to do that is you could catch us on Twitter at Crestron HQ. If you want to find out more about Pyng, you can go to crestron.com/Pyng.
All right, and that's PYNG for anyone who may not know. We should clarify that. And we will definitely include a link to that up in the show notes at HomeTech.fm. And Evan, once again, thanks for coming on. We'll let you go.
I appreciate the invite, guys. Thank you very much.
All right, take care.